Election officials in every state have confirmed there is no evidence of significant voter fraud. Now, that's not to say, Chaz, though, that there aren't some cases of voter fraud or irregularities or some glitches that have happened, but this suggestion that 500,000 Biden votes were actually Trump votes that weren't counted for Trump, it just seems like a fantasy.
Yeah, well, first of all, I should just say with the Dominion thing, I should just make clear that it wasn't even an error involving vote counting at all. It was about reporting.
Yep.
And not all the errors are involving Dominion anyway. But just to be clear to everyone there, the votes were never wrong. It was just about what was reported.
And I'm old enough to remember 2004 when, after Ohio was the decisive state that year between Bush and Kerry, and there were some inconsistencies with the then Diebold voting machines there, that there are people to this day that will argue that Ohio should have gone to John Kerry and that this thing was rigged and so on. But again, it's incredibly hard to prove, particularly when there is no evidence and no evidence of it affecting the tallies.
You're absolutely right. You are very old. But I just want to talk about some of these allegations because there's a real flood of these allegations at the moment. So rather than going through them all one by one, because it will take many shows to do that, I'm going to tell you why we should be cautious about all of them. Firstly, this is what Trump does. Whenever his side loses, he says they were cheated. When he was beaten by Ted Cruz during the Iowa primary in 2016, he tweeted, "Based on the fraud committed by Senator Ted Cruz during the Iowa caucus, either a new election should take place or Cruz results nullified." When Obama won in 2012, Trump tweeted, "We can't let this happen. We should march on Washington and stop this travesty." Secondly, a lot of these claims are rubbish. There seems to be endless claims, for example, about dead people voting that simply do not hold up to scrutiny. CNN picked 50 names at random from a list of supposedly 14,000 dead voters in Michigan, and 37 of them were dead but did not vote. 5 of them had voted but were alive, and 8 were alive and didn't vote. So for those counting, that's 0 out of 50. Often these bogus claims are covered with great drama on Tucker Carlson or Laura Ingraham.
You saw something suspicious, we're going to get right into it tonight, happening on the side of a Biden-Harris van in the parking lot of the polling station. Now walk the audience through what happened.
I was walking and I could see these people hand over what appeared to be white envelopes. Just hand over onto this table, and as I got closer, the envelopes were being torn open. There were 2 people dropping the envelopes and 2 people ripping them open and turning and facing the van and drawing on them or marking them. And as I got closer, I thought, those are ballots.
Okay, so to be clear, Deep Throat there is claiming that people pulled up to a vote counting centre, of all places, in a Biden-Harris marked van and then started filling out fake ballots right there in public. And even though they were supposedly doing it for half an hour, the only person who saw them do it was this lone woman who didn't report it to anyone at the time and didn't take a photo of it. And now she's turned up in Kayleigh McEnany's thick wad of affidavits and on Fox News, but she still hasn't actually filed an official complaint. And she refuses to give her identity to the Secretary of State so they can interview her properly about her claims. Thirdly, what people claim on TV or the internet is very different to what they say in court. Team Trump claimed in a presser last week that they had proof that 10,000 people had voted illegally in Clark County, Nevada. But by the time that claim got to court, they only presented one woman, Jill Stocker, who said she was denied the right to vote in person because her mail ballot had been stolen and filled out by someone else. And it turned out election officials had actually offered her the chance to cancel that ballot and vote again if she signed an affidavit saying her ballot had been stolen. But she didn't do it. So that's a little bit different too, 10,000 illegal votes. These Fox News hosts are a little bit more straightforward what they think about these claims though, when they don't know they're on the air.
Whoever is decided to be the president, remember, just because CNN says, or even Fox News says that somebody's president doesn't make them president. So I think everybody wants to know that this was done properly and legally.
What is
and that we can
happening? Like,
trust
Trace,
the
we've called it.
results. And I think we have to look into every one of these concerns.
Fourthly, even if you added up every single specific claim currently in court and Trump won them all, it wouldn't come close to overturning the outcome. They're all things like 592 ballots having the address not clearly filled out on the inside envelope in Pennsylvania, or 180 apparent ballots in Arizona with more than one mark on them. The biggest examples are the 10,000 mail-in ballots that arrived in the 3 days after Election Day in Pennsylvania, but even they wouldn't change the outcome even of just Pennsylvania. I suppose there is one hopeful lawsuit out there. It's in Pennsylvania. It claims that mail-in voting itself is unconstitutional. I really don't fancy their chances of winning that case and throwing out 70 million votes. Finally, you have the absurdly obvious double standards, like the way they're pretending that the presidential election was riddled with fraud, but the Senate election and state house elections that the Republicans did well in were perfectly fine. I mean, why would the election riggers allow Democrats to lose seats in Pennsylvania? The most blatant double standard, though, as always, was expressed by Lindsey Graham.
The state of play in America in 2020 for Republicans is not good. We need to fight back. We win because of our ideas. We lose elections because they cheat us.
Come on! The problem, John, is all this shameless opportunism makes it very difficult to remain open-minded if a legitimate claim does come along. But thankfully, the authorities are still at it, plugging away, evaluating what they can. In Georgia, they're not only conducting a recount, but an audit and a recanvass at the same time. So good on them. The question some are asking, though, is why are we taking these claims seriously? Trump can come up with garbage claims forever. Well, no, he can't. Because a week from today, Georgia is going to certify their results. And Monday week, Pennsylvania and Michigan will. And at that point, Biden will officially have 270 electors. Arizona, Nevada, and Wisconsin will follow soon behind. Of course, Trump is suing to delay those certifications, but based on what I've seen, I don't fancy his chances of succeeding. What do you think?
Yeah, look, there is clearly a huge problem here with these cases not even passing the first legal sniff test. The number of judges that have basically said, this is hearsay at best. You haven't brought me anything that I can hit you, like, this is ridiculous. And the serious side, of course, is that there are 73 million or thereabouts Trump supporters who are inclined to believe that they are being robbed right now. And that's really, really dangerous. And there were Democrats after 2000 and 2004 who felt as though maybe they'd been robbed of the White House. But well, it didn't have a massively deleterious effect on the United States. There was national unity around issues after 9/11, and maybe 9/11 in a funny kind of way sort of reunited the United States into common cause during that period. But we hope that it doesn't take something like that to reunite America after this. The divisions are being exploited by people who are not just seeking to make money to give to lawyers to go to court, but also as we've discussed, retire campaign debt. A lot of this money is just going straight to the Republican Party. We have organisations, including Judicial Watch, who are offering $100,000 million incentives for anyone to come forward with accusations of voter fraud. So these kinds of people who would ordinarily just be sitting in their basement, writing on the internet, oh, this is my conspiracy theory, and yeah, I saw the Biden-Harris van, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it also, thank goodness that we are not seeing violence at the moment. I think that is just good luck rather than good management as to the fact that we're not seeing that go on right now, because this is such a potentially volatile situation. So reckless from President Trump to be doing what he's doing, and for people like Lindsey Graham and others who know better to not be drawing a line under this. Now, maybe we have heard in the last sort of 12 hours or so Lindsey Graham adding his voice to the likes of Senator James Langford, Republican Oklahoma, saying that the Biden transition needs to start for national security reasons, because you're really running a big risk if Trump's going to deny this all the way up to January 20. The Biden administration, there's going to be a vulnerability for the United States. Their national security will be imperiled for a period of time if there is no functioning government. And frankly, at the moment, there doesn't appear to be a functioning government anyway.
Well, like I said, he doesn't have a leg to stand on past November 23 as far as holding up the transition goes, because all this, the media doesn't call the election thing, stops on November 23. But just to back up what you were saying, I've got some polls here actually. Morning Consult poll, 70% of Republicans don't believe the 2020 election was free and fair. And YouGov poll, 86% of Trump voters say that Biden did not legitimately win the election.